Good morning, my brothers and sisters. It's episode 44, season 2. We're going to talk today about the quote-unquote triumphal entry. Remember, though, that there really is no exit. He has a triumphal exit. It's by way of resurrection. So this is the one-way trip of Jesus into Jerusalem. He goes back and forth to Bethany for the next week or so. This is the Sunday before the Friday that Jesus is crucified. So the clock is ticking a little bit and the drum beats are getting louder. Let's read. It's in all 4 of the Gospels, and each Gospel adds a little bit of detail, which I'll kind of pull in. But I'm going to read from Luke, chapter 19, verse 28, and just get started with that. And when he had said these things, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. When he drew near to Bethpage and Bethany at the mount that is called Olivet, he sent 2 of the disciples, saying, Go into the village in front of you, where on entering you will find a colt tied, on which no one has ever yet sat. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, Why are you untying it? You shall say this, The Lord has need of it. So those who were sent went away and found it just as he had told them. And as they were untying the colt, its owner said to him, Why are you untying the colt? And they said, The Lord has need of it. And they brought it to Jesus, and throwing their cloaks on the colt, they set Jesus on it. And as he rode along, they spread their cloaks on the road. And as he was drawing near, already on the way down the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of his disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works they had seen, saying, Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, Teacher, rebuke your disciples. He answered, I tell you, if these were silent, the very stones would cry out. So let me just start with the ending, and that's the rocks crying out. If you've ever been to Israel, you'll note that Israel is full of rocks. You'll never go to another place where one of the most prominent features about the landscape is rocks. And remember in Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, that the ground was cursed. And then in Romans 8:19, Jesus is right that the creation wants to cry out. Listen to this. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself would be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. Then it goes on to say, and not only creation's been groaning, we've been groaning too. So creation has been longing for this moment to be freed from the curse, which it did no fault of its own. Okay, so enough about the rocks. The rocks want to cry out, and if the people don't cry out in praise, the rocks are going to cry out in praise. Secondly, let's talk about the colt. Interesting here in Luke that there's an obedience for the 2 guys that are sent ahead. I think they were guys. They're commanded to go and untie the colt. So they go and they find a colt. Another gospel talks about that there's a donkey with it, a mother. That's in Matthew. And they obediently start to untie the colt without identifying who's the boss of the colt, who's the owner or the owners of the colt. So they start to untie the colt. The people around it, which are later identified as its owners, plural, in verse 33 here in Luke. So it's a multiply owned donkey and colt. Then they ask him, say, hey, what are you doing? Which is funny. And then in Mark it says, hey, we're going to send it back. But the real answer is the Lord has need of it, which is cool. And they say, okay. So let's talk about the prophecy and the praise. The prophecy is that Jesus is coming on a colt, and that is from a prophecy in Zechariah 9:9. It's quoted in Matthew. Say to the daughter of Zion, bring your king, behold, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, not on a chariot, on a donkey, and on a colt, not even a donkey, a colt of a donkey, the foal of the beast of burden. So Jesus comes, announced this kingdom. At this time, he emphasized its peace. So this colt is representative of kingship and humility, which is an amazing combination. And finally, the people, they recognize him as maybe a Messiah. They say, blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory to the highest. In another gospel, they address him as Son of David, which goes all the way back to Samuel. When your days are, this is talking about David. When your days are filled and you lie down with your fathers, I will raise up your offspring after you. Now it's referring to Jesus. This is a prophecy about Jesus, who shall come from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. So way back in 2 Samuel, referring to David, chapter 7, verse 12, it talks about Jesus. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. So when they refer to Jesus as the Son of David, this is what they're referring to. So we have so much here in this triumphal entry. We have rocks crying out. We have a colt that represents kingship. We have praise that identifies Jesus as David. And I can't help, this is called the triumphal entry, and I just couldn't help but think, well, what about the exit? The exit is even more triumphal. Stick around. We'll talk about that soon.